And welcome to Barcelona News. It is March 16th, 2026, and Barcelona have sent Andreas Christensen an ultimatum. And I'm going to tell you what's all of that about. Also, Barcelona are reportedly considering a move for a Benfica winger. And finally, reports out of England stating that Barcelona are tracking an English defender. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to the Barca News Live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but we also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering questions, and reacting to them or to your comments live. So start filling out the chat section with all your comments, your questions, so we can get this going. Now, for those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description. The chat is in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you're looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to go Kids Get Back or Fanatics. If you're looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. You click on them, get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. All right, let's begin with the news today. We're starting the podcast like 20 minutes late. I do apologize about that. My software was not working. I kept trying to connect. Like everything was set up. I would hit go live and it would just load and load and load and it wouldn't go live. I kept refreshing. It wouldn't work. I had to actually initiate a ticket with customer support, have them reply. It was an absolute mess, but that's not important. The important thing is that the software is working. We are live. We are ready to get this going. So let's start with the news. Started with the first segment, which is in regards to the election, because as you know by now, I made a video about it, and of course, it was all the headlines related to FC Barcelona. Joan Laporta has won re-election with a overwhelming majority, 68% of the vote, and as such, he will be the Barcelona president until 2031, completely crushing Víctor Font in this election. And you might say, well, Mo, why are we talking about this? We already knew this. Hold on. I got some numbers for you. This is why we are discussing this. Now, Joan Laporta won with 68.18% of the votes, or 32,934. So 32,934 Socis voted for Joan Laporta, as opposed to Víctor Font, who only received 29.78% of the vote. So 30%, if you round it up, 5 votes. Now, when will Joan Laporta become president? Because as you know, Joan Laporta resigned in order to run as a candidate. Per the club statutes, you have to resign in order to be a candidate. Now that Laporta has won the election, the question is, when will Joan Laporta become president again? Not until July 1st. So per the club statute, the new president doesn't start until July 1st. Therefore, it's going to be Rafa Yuste from here until July 1st. Because when Joan Laporta resigned, his vice president, Rafa Yuste, became the acting president. So right now, the president is Rafa Yuste, and he will remain president until June 30th. And on July 1st, Joan Laporta will officially become president. I think this is another reason why elections really should be after the season's over. That way, we're not distracted with the matches. The players are not distracted with what's going on with the elections. We have more time to hear from the candidates. And you don't have a president who just won an election and just has to sit out the next, 4 months. Plus, if the club goes on winning La Liga, the Champions League, I mean, who's going to lift those trophies? Rafa Yuste? Doesn't seem too fair to me, right? This is Joan Laporta's project. Why should his vice president lift the trophy? But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Joan Laporta has won the election, and he will become the president once again on July 1st. Now, if you see those numbers on my screen, you're wondering, Mo, why is Sandro Rosé named there? Well, that's because Joan Laporta in this election received 32,934 votes, and with that, he became the second most voted president in the history of the club. Who's number one? Sandro Rosé, who received 35,021 votes back in the 2010 election. So the president who has received the most votes is Sandro Rosé, number one. Number two is Joan Laporta during this election. Now, Sandro Rosé in a 2010 election received 61.31% of the vote. You might say, Mo, how is it that Sandro Rosé received more votes, but his percentage is much smaller than Laporta's? That's because the 2010 election had one of the highest turnout, if not the highest turnout. I can't remember on top of my head, but I think it was either one of the highest or the highest turnout of voters in the history of the club. Now, we know who has the most votes, Sandro Rosé. Who's the president who had the biggest percentage of votes? That's Núñez, Josep Luis Núñez, who in 1998 received 76% of all the votes, the biggest percentage of votes received, as opposed to Sandro Rosé, the most votes by number received, and Joan Laporta being the second president with the most votes received. Now, if you don't know who Josep Luis Núñez, I've noticed that a lot of people didn't, just from previous comments. He was the first ever elected Barcelona president. He was elected in 1978 after the dictator Franco died, and he served from 1978 until 2000. 22 years that Josep Luis Núñez served, during which he renovated the Spotify Camp Nou, and the Camp Nou reached over 100,000 people for the first time in the history of the club. He built the mini estadi. He built the Barcelona Museum. He also built the living quarters at La Masia, because before, if you went to La Masia, you would just go there and then leave. Now people actually live there. The players actually live there. Núñez is also the one who hired Cruyff, Johan Cruyff, as Barcelona's coach, who pretty much gave birth to the Barcelona identity. And of course, he also built the dream team alongside Johan Cruyff, who of course won the first Champions League in the history of the club. Now, Josep Luis Núñez is considered by many to be the greatest president in the history of the club, because it's thanks to him that Barcelona became a worldwide or a global club. Before Núñez, Barcelona was just a Spanish club, just like any other clubs, just like Getafe, Valencia. Well, not Getafe, let's not go there. But, you know, like Valencia, just a Spanish club that was just known within Spain. After Núñez was done with his presidency, that's when, you know, during his years is when Barcelona really became a global club that had fans from all over the world, that people from all over the world followed. And it was all during the tenure of Núñez. This is why he's considered by many the greatest president in the history of the club. And again, the first elected president in the history of the club, and also the president to receive the biggest percentage of the votes, 76%, in the 1998 elections. Now, Joan Laporta did have some statements after his victory. Of course, he expressed how happy he was, and then he went on to promise the following for the next 5 years of his tenure. Joan Laporta said that his plan was to continuing to build a great team with Flick on the bench and Deco in the front office, winning titles, which is what we Barca fans love, and playing well too. Having a stadium completed halfway through the term, because that means Barca's future is secured, both financially and in terms of putting on spectacular football matches, which is what we love. Keep the women's team highly competitive with increasingly competitive youth divisions. Achieve the phase of economic growth that all these decisions will bring. And, well, I'll tell you, the best years of our lives are ahead of us. Big promises by Joan Laporta, who's saying the best years are ahead of us. But nonetheless, the plan or his promise is that for the next 5 years until 2031, he plans, of course, to finish the stadium, continue winning with the first team, and then, you know, continue achieving more success with the women's team and all the other youth teams. And then, of course, bring more money to the club with those teams winning more, because, of course, winning means money. It's money from rewards, from the awards, that won. It's more money from TV rights, more money from merchandising, and sponsorships as well, because, of course, who doesn't want to sponsor a winning team? Now, Victor Font also had some statements for Joan Laporta. He congratulated the new president-elect, and towards the end of his speech, he said the following. That's the only portion that I highlighted, because at the beginning it was just like congratulating him. But this last part I highlighted because I believe that it was some very important statements that Victor Font had to say, which is the following. The fact that there are people fighting for a different Barca makes us a unique club. Amen, sir. Amen. It will be important for members to offer a constructive counterpoint to the official narrative without causing instability. But the president who has emerged victorious must have our support. We are making everything we have worked on in recent years available to the club. I like these statements, and I chose to highlight these statements because he is right. The fact that we can have candidates running for election and we can choose a president every 5 years, that is special, ladies and gentlemen. Do not take that for granted. There are many, many, many clubs around the world. They don't get to do this. They get appointed a president and they're stuck with that president. If he's great, awesome. If he's terrible, too fucking bad. There's nothing you could do about it. Not here at FC Barcelona. We get to choose who our president is. And if we like him, we get to vote for him again. And if we don't like him, we get to vote him out and bring someone else. And that is special. One of the many reasons why this club is más que un club, or more than a club. Not only are we owned by our socios, but our socios get to decide, get to vote for who they want to be president. And that's absolutely beautiful. And of course, Victor Fon at the end saying that everything, like his whole plan, his platform, his ideas, he will make available to the club. That's absolutely beautiful as well, because look, at the end of the day, it's not about Laporta. It's not about Font. It's about the club and what's best for the club. So Victor Fon making his ideas available for Laporta. And, if there's anything good there, hopefully Laporta will, adopt into his own platform, because who says you have to ride and die with your own ideas? Why not listen to others? Get the good ideas from others, mix them up with your good ideas, and voila, you have a winning formula. Anyways, that is it in regards to the election coverage. Again, Joan Laporta will take the presidency, or he will become a president again on July 1st this summer. So it's going to be Rafa Yuste until June 30th. Of course, after winning the election with a huge margin, 68% of the vote, or 32,000 votes, approximately. I forgot the exact number. But anyways, let's begin with the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Andreas Christensen, because the club have sent him an ultimatum. Anyways, Bad Boy says, good evening, Mo, and to all the Barca channel members. Good evening, my friend. Good evening. Good evening to all my Barca News family. Again, I apologize for starting the podcast 20 minutes late, but sometimes, with technology, it's a double-edged sword. It can make your life very easy, or it could also make it very difficult. And Barca Mama says, happy Monday, Barca News fam. Happy Monday, Barca Mama, and happy Monday to all the Barca News family members. It's another week, but this week I leave to Barcelona. So I'm excited. For the first time, I'm excited about a Monday. I'm usually like, oh, God, Monday's here, and I got to work the whole week. Nope. This week I'm excited because on Thursday I leave to Barcelona. I will land there Friday morning, and on Saturday I will be watching the Barca Femini, and on Sunday I will be watching the men's team. And don't worry, because I'm taking my camera with me. I will be making a whole video about the stadium. I'm going to film outside, inside, going through the hallways, coming out. I mean, you guys will get to see a full view of what the stadium looks like now that is reopened. I guess I was going to say now that it's complete, but it's not complete. Now that it has reopened. Of course, I did do another stadium video a couple of years ago when they started demolishing it. So it'll be nice to go back there and make a video now that it has reopened. I'm excited for that, to make that video. I'm excited for you guys to see it. Barca Got Culture says, Mo Money, what's up, brother? What's up, Barca Got Culture? Welcome, my friend. And Yaya says, good morning, Mo. I'm Yaya Abdullahi from Sierra Leone, watching you live. Welcome, my friend. Welcome. Thank you for watching. And Waffles, who's making me crave waffles, says, Mo, Laporta hasn't been 10 out of 10, but in your eyes, what does he have to do this term to gain your trust? Not fully, but enough to trust his decisions. I kind of highlighted a little bit that in my last video and yesterday's video when I discussed his victory. I said the first 3 years. Remember, I voted for Laporta. Okay, a lot of people who like to give me shit because I've criticized Laporta. It's like, bro, you're not even a socio. You can't even vote. So what the fuck are you even talking to me about? So I actually voted for Laporta. And the first 3 years, I thought they were really solid years by Joan Laporta. He had an incredible team behind him, and together they did amazing things. They cut down Barcelona spending, and that was very important, right? Because if you're spending more than what you're bringing in, obviously your debt is going to continue to grow. And for the debt to stop growing, you need to bring down the spending to bring it to a level under what you're bringing, right? Because if you're spending more than what you bring, you have to continue to borrow to make up the difference. But if you stop spending more than you bring, then your debt will stop growing. Now, Laporta hasn't been able to do it completely. We're still spending more than we're bringing in, and the debt has grown under Jean Laporta. But nonetheless, he did reduce our expenditures by a lot. And that was a very important step towards financial, I'm not blanking on the word, financial viability, right? He also started signing sponsorship like left or right. I don't think anyone has been able to sign sponsorship like Jean Laporta has been able to do probably in the entire history of the club. The Spotify deal, an absolute win for the club. Probably one of the best sponsorship deals, if not the best sponsorship deal in the history of the club. I mean, merging music with sport, absolute win. He activated the economic levers, even though the Barca Vision one is still a little big question mark there. But he did a lot of great things during those first 3 years. I think he made a blunder bringing Xabi, but whatever. And then the next 2 years, 2.5 years, this is when we saw a huge amount of board of directors leave because they had their disagreements on how Jean Laporta was running things. So over 30 board members left. And instead of replacing them, he left those vacancies open. And instead, he either took over their those duties, which you shouldn't, because you can't run a club by yourself. You need a team. And he also surrounded himself with his friends, right? His friends who have no official role, not employed by the club, were not voted in. They're there. They're there making every important decision, even though by the bylaws, they have no authority to make any of those decisions. And that's when we start seeing the blunders, right? That's when we start seeing the mistakes, the red flag deals, the questionable deals. That's when all that started to happen. So I think for me to kind of like want to vote again for him, not that you can, because by the bylaws, Laporta cannot run again in 2031. But I mean, I would want to see the professionalization of the club. You know, I want to see once again him picking. Sorry, it's really hot in my apartment. Picking a competent board. Getting his friends out of there. His friends have no business being there making decisions and being in meetings. Like absolutely not. Not improvise, you know, because you shouldn't have to wait until December 31st to register Daniel Lombao Victor when you've had months, right? You sign them in the summer. You've had months to do it and wait until the last second. That's what I want to see. I want to see the club ran professionally with professional, experienced people in those positions doing their things, with things being planned ahead rather than just like, I'll deal with it as it comes, right? That's what I want to see from this second term. And I hope he does, right? I hope he has learned from his mistakes, and I hope that he is looking to improve. What I do fear is that the fact that he won by such an overwhelming majority, which I think we all saw it coming, I fear that might, instead encourage him to correct things, instead to make things worse, right? What I fear is that maybe Jean Laporta, by seeing this, be like, oh shit, well, look at all the blunders I made, look at all the lies I told, and these socials still voted for me. So maybe I could just do whatever, even though, of course, he can't run for election. That's my fear. Hopefully, I'm completely wrong. Hopefully, next 5 years are better than the ones before. Because like I said, he started really strong. And then halfway through, he took a turn. And I would hate to see that turn, those last 2 years, 2.5 years, be the next 5 years, right? Because we're still in a very sensitive position, right? We're not out of danger whatsoever. The debt has grown. It went from 1.2 to 1.5 billion now. So we are nowhere out of the red zone. We're still not under the 1-to-1 rule. We still owe a lot of players a lot of money. So we're not out of the danger. So this is by no means, oh, okay, I won re-election. I did the hard work the first 5 years. Now I get to coast. No, this is, we did the hard work 5 years. Now it's going to be even more hard work, right? But anyways. And Shane with the donation. Let's fucking go. Thank you, Shane, for your generosity and for always supporting the channel. But Shin says, not happy. 5 more years of wasting money on signings we don't need. 5 more years of potential scandal. And 5 more years of him overreaching as president by meddling with the team. I hope I'm wrong, but the past is a barometer. I hope so too, my friend. I hope you and I are both wrong. And I hope that the next 5 years it'll be better than these last five. Because like I said, we're not sensitive. We're still in a sensitive position. We're still not out of the red. Uh, so we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, hopefully. And yeah, I don't like the meddling with the team. I really don't. I mean, I used to say this a lot when Xavi was president. President. When Xavi was coach, which by the way, hilarious. For 2 years, I criticized Xavi about how he's a bad coach. And these people were like, oh, fuck you, Mo. I'm going to unsubscribe. You're so biased. I don't want to watch your channel anymore, blah, blah, blah. And then Xavi supports Font. And these same people who used to say that I'm biased and I'm a Madridista, blah, 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 for criticizing Xavi, all of a sudden they're like, oh, Xavi, the worst coach ever. It is like, yo, your hypocrisy is like insane. But anyways, yeah, I used to say that when Xavi was the coach. I was like, yo, Xavi needs to like draw the line and tell Laporta, look, bro, I appreciate you, but if you have something to say to me, we'll discuss it in your office. This whole letting the president in the locker room, talking to the players, coming into the practices is like, no, you have to set boundaries. And as a coach, you have to say, this is my domain, right? These are my players. I give them the orders because the players have to respect the coach as the head figure, right? He's the one who rules the locker room. He's the lion of the jungle in the locker room, even though there are no lions in the jungle. They live in the savannah. But anyways, I think Flick has been able to do that. For the most part, we still have seen Laporta come in the locker room, but it's usually been to celebrate with the players winning something, as opposed to with Xavi going there and giving speeches and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, bro, that's not your area. We don't see Laporta doing that with the women's team. We don't see him doing it with Barca Athletic or with the youth teams. And look at them. They're flourishing. They're shining. Why? Because they have professionals running those teams, and those professionals are allowed to do their work, and they're left alone. But the first team constantly meddling. Presidents should not meddle with the first team. They should not be going to the locker room and talk to players or to the training pitch. If you see something that you think is wrong, you call the coach to your office and you say, look, this is what's going on. I don't like it. What's happening? Give me an explanation. You don't do that in the locker room itself, right? You have to allow the players to see your coach as the leading figure. If you're constantly in there interrupting, then they're going to lose respect for their coach because now they're going to see you as the leading figure. And now they're going to be looking to you for the orders. And that should never be the case, right? They should only look to Laporta as the guy who controls their contracts, right? Who, when you get renewed and how much money you get. But when it comes to the pitch as a player on what to do and what not to do, they should be looking to their coach for answers, not to the president. And I said that a lot when Xavi was president. Of course, that made me a hater. But that's okay now because Xavi did not support Laporta. So now I can say these things because now Xavi is the worst coach ever. Before, he was the greatest coach ever, But anyways, let's get back to the news because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona have sent an ultimatum to Andreas Christensen because they have yet to reach a contract renewal agreement. Now, if you're wondering why I have a picture of Andreas Christensen and Frankie, that's because it's very difficult to find pictures of Christensen during this season since he's played like 5 seconds. But this has nothing to do with Frankie. He just happened to be in that shot, and there's very few shots of Andreas Christensen playing during this season. So ignore that Frankie's there. Focus on Christensen because this whole segment is about Christensen alone. Now, Christensen is, of course, set to his contract is set to expire this summer at the end of the season. He will become a free agent. And, of course, I talked about this and criticized it heavily. Laporta and Deco had the brilliant idea that, hey, because Christensen has been injured for so long, kind of like a show of solidarity, because apparently we're an NGO now. We're a charity. We're UNICEF. As a show of solidarity, they want to offer him a contract renewal, right? Because a club that's very strapped on cash, that has no financial fair play margin, the best thing to do is to renew someone that's been out for 2 years due to injury, right? And don't get me wrong, I think Christensen is an incredible defender. I'm not here talking shit about Christensen's qualities. We've all seen what he did. Remember with right next to Araujo when Barcelona won La Liga under Xavi. We all know his qualities. He's an incredible defender. He could play as a defensive midfielder and also do an incredible job. But it doesn't matter how good you are. If you're injured for 2 years, what's the point? I mean, can you imagine had Messi been injured for 2 years? Would he or getting injured every 5 seconds, would he be the greatest ever? Probably not, right? So Laporta and Deco have the brilliant idea of renewing Christensen, and they've been negotiating with his agent for several weeks now with no agreement reached. So now Barcelona have sent the final draft to Christensen and his agent and said, this is our final offer. You either accept it and you renew, or that's it, you're gone this summer. Now, what's this offer? What's Barcelona's final offer? It's a 2-year extension. Makes sense. Injured for 2 years. Why not give him another 2 years? But this contract would offer Christensen half his current salary. Okay? Now, this base salary, which is half of what it currently is tied to incentives and to bonuses, right? If Christensen plays 30 to 40% of the matches next season, the salary goes up from half to a little bit more. We don't have the exact figure. If he plays 40 to 50% of the matches, salary goes up more. And if he plays 50% or more of matches next season, then his salary would double, or in other words, it would match his current salary. He would make his current salary if he plays 50% or more of the matches. Now, there's also penalties. If Christensen does not reach 30% of matches played, that means he plays less than 30%, then Barcelona would have the option to terminate the contract. Now, I got to say, I like this. I like the fact that Barcelona is just not handing him a 2-year contract extension and here you go. I like the fact that, hey, we're going to pay you less, but if you stay healthy and you play, we'll pay you more. And if not, we can terminate. I like that. So bravo, Deco. Looks like he's learning. Finally, he's getting better. So bravo on that. But here's another option. How about we don't renew him at all? I mean, the guy's been injured for 2 fucking years, and you want to renew him? That makes no sense to me. But at least we're not just offering him 2-year contract and that's it, right? At least there's bonuses and incentives and penalties. At least, God, thank you, God. So anyways, Barcelona have sent this to Christensen's agent and said, look, this is it. This is our final offer. You either take it or leave it. There's no more, because so far the agent has been trying to negotiate and there's been a lot of back and forth, and Barcelona have said enough. By the way, the balls on this agent. Like, bro, your guy has been injured for 2 years and you even have the balls to like trying to negotiate and argue. It's like, dude, you should be thankful that we're even considering a contract renewal, let alone, that you want to negotiate it. But he's just doing his job. He has to try to get the best possible deal for Andreas Christensen. Why? Because as I explained last time, agent's legal duty is to whom? To the player, not to the club, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you understand it now, since it doesn't have nothing to do with John Laporta, right? Because people don't seem to understand things when it's connected to Laporta, but when it's connected to other stuff, they grasp it. Anyway, so let's get back to the comment section, and then we are going to talk about the Benfica winger that Barcelona are plotting a move for in the summer. And we do have a donation. Let's fucking go. Ray Ramos, thank you so much, my friend, for your incredibly generous donation. Ray Ramos says, not Shin's imposter. I love it. If you guys don't know, Shin used to change his name every other day, so I can never keep up with his names. And then last time, Ray was very generous. He donated $20, and it was the first time he was making a donation. I was like, wait a minute, is that Shin? Shin, is that you? Did you change your name again? But it turns out Shin has not changed his name. Ray is a completely different person. So thank you, Ray, for your donation. And Ray says, happy Monday, guys. I heard Flick got an extension. Is it true? Also, I'm not a fan of Laporta, but I'll try to be optimistic. Thank you for your reports, Bo. No, thank you, my friend, for your donation and for supporting the channel. I did see that report. I personally could not confirm it. So this is why I'm not going to touch on it, because, I try to as best as I can, because at the end of the day, I'm not a professional reporter. I'm just a guy with a crazy guy that screams at his camera. But as far as I could tell, there were no reports confirming that report, if that makes sense. So for now, I'm putting it in the question mark section. I'm putting an asterisk next to it, kind of like those trophies that the Astros won. Oh, I hope there's no Astros fans in the chat section. Just kidding. I'm just like starting shit, random shit on a Monday. So yeah, but if I hear more, if I can confirm it more from the sources that I like to go to that are close to Barcelona, that I trust their information, I'll definitely report on it. But for now, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole because the last thing I want to do is just share information just for the sake of sharing it, just for likes and subscriptions. And that's not my style. That's not my style. You know, I've talked about this before. Professionally speaking, I'm a lawyer. This is not my profession. YouTube is not my profession. YouTube does not pay my bills. I do this as a hobby, so I have no need to be spreading rumors or making shit up just for the fact, just for likes and subscriptions, and just so I can monetize the videos and pay my bills. Right? That's not what pays my bills. So I get the liberty and the freedom to just say what I think is, or what to spread only information that I can double, triple, and quadruple check. Because don't get me wrong, I could be making crazy ass videos and getting like crazy amount of views, but that's not what I'm trying to do, because this is not what pays my bills. So I don't have the need to do that. I don't have the need to make crazy videos. Barcelona agrees to sell Lamine Yamal. I saw an article like that once. And trust me, if I made that video would probably hit 1 million views. I mean, shit, everybody who would see the headline, oh, Barca agrees to sell Lamine Yamal, will be clicking on it. Like, what the fuck is going on? But that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to spread information just for the sake of spreading it for likes and subscriptions. I like to confirm that information before I talk. And every now and then, I'm sure I've been wrong and I've spread the wrong information. But it wasn't because lack of diligence on my part. I always try to do my best to confirm things. But yeah, I'm trying to be optimistic too, because here's the thing. At the end of the day, it's not about Laporta. It's not about Font. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about the club, right? And we all want what's best for the club, or at least I hope that we all want for the best of the club. Some people get too caught up in just following someone blindly, and it seems like what they want, what's best for that person, not for the club. Thankfully, that's not the way I see things. The way I see things, it's club above everyone and everything and everyone. So yeah, of course, I also want to be optimistic. I also want to wish the best for Laporta and hope that the next 5 years are better, and that our club can continue growing, and our debt can keep shrinking, and the team can keep winning. Because at the end of the day, what I want, it's what's best for FC Barcelona, which is the club I love and the club that made me fall in love with football alongside the Brazilian squad of 2002. My goodness, what a squad. Anyways, let's do another couple of comments. I know this one took very long, but let's do a couple more comments, and then we'll continue with the next news. Let's see. Where did I leave off? John says, good morning, Mo. Watching live from Zambia. Just want to say thanks a lot for the great job. Keep up, and God protect you always. I know we are going to beat Newcastle without a doubt. Biscal Barça. Amen, my friend. Biscal Barça. Thank you so much for joining. May God bless you and protect you. And may God bless and protect all of the Barca News family. You guys are absolutely amazing. Let's see. What else? And Christopher says, Mo, what's up? Keep doing the good work, bro. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thanks for all of you for watching. Like I said, without you, I'm just a crazy guy screaming at his camera. And Nadim says, what are your thoughts on the 5 years Laporta got from 2026? And his last term was not too great, especially last 3 years. Deco as sporting director and signing of Vitor Roque and Dani Olmo. Yeah, like I said, lots of blunders the last 2 years. Hopefully, Laporta has learned from that, and hopefully he can improve on that. We wish that for our players all the time. We're always saying, hey, hopefully the players learn from this or learn from that, and they can grow and they can develop. So this is what I hope for Laporta and his board, that they've learned from the mistakes they made, and that they can continue improving, and that they can, continue growing the club. That's all you can wish for, because, again, at the end of the day, it's not about Laporta. It's not about Font. It's about FC Barcelona. And with that, let's do the next bit of news, because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona scouts were caught this weekend sniffing coke and partying with hookers. Just kidding. They were caught watching a Benfica winger, and later on, people in the scouting department confirmed that Barcelona are indeed tracking and very interested in the following winger. God help me and God forgive me because I will butcher his name. And I know there's a few people that watch the channel who are Norwegian. So if you know how to say his name correctly, I'm sure, of course you know how to say. What am I saying? Of course you know how to say his name correctly. But for people who follow the channel from Norway, please correct me on how to say this name correctly. I'm gonna try my best. But it's Andreas Schelderup. God, I am sorry, Andreas, for ruining your name. But let's just call him Andreas for now. I don't want to keep ruining his name. But Andreas, if you don't know who he is, he's a 21-year-old left winger. He's a right-footed left winger. So kind of like the inverse of Lamine, who's a left-footed right winger, right? Andreas is a right-footed left winger, Norwegian, as I said earlier, currently playing for Benfica. And Barcelona scouts were seen watching him this weekend and preparing reports about him. And later on, a scout who decided to, stay with his identity, I guess, hidden, confirmed that, yes, Barcelona are interested in Andreas. And in fact, they have been watching him now for several months. Now, Andreas doesn't only just play for Benfica. He also is an international with Norway's national team. So far this season, he has scored 7 goals and provided 4 assists. And of course, his good performance has caught the eye of Barcelona, who immediately deployed scouts to start producing reports about him. All of them have been positive. Now, Andreas has a market value of 14 million euros, low market value. However, it is Benfica, and as we know, Benfica likes to sell their players for an arm and a leg, and more so when you take into consideration that there are clubs both in the Premier and in the Serie A also closely tracking Andreas. But nonetheless, Barcelona have been tracking this guy for months. They have many positive reports. They're very seriously interested in him. And he is currently on the list of possible winger signings for this summer, especially if the Rashford deal doesn't go through, which honestly, I honestly hope it doesn't go through. I know. Some people are going to be like, man, Mo, you're a Rashford hater, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, but I'm not sold. He's very inconsistent. And like I've said, the fact that he's the same age as Rafinha, it just doesn't make sense to me. Not to say he's old because he's not, okay? Let's make that clear. The last time I touched on age, people were like, you're saying Rashford's old. No, I'm not saying Rashford is old. Rashford is he's 28, 29. He still has many years ahead of him. But he's the same age as Coutinho, which means that two of them will get old at the same time, which means that two of them will need to be replaced at the same time. And that, to me, doesn't make sense. To me, if you're going to sign someone, you sign someone who's younger, right? Someone who's younger than Rafinha, like Schelderup, like Nusa, like Fofana. The list is long. And that younger person can learn and develop as Coutinho continues to be the starter. And then when Coutinho gets old, guess what? This younger winger now is older, has more experience. Now he can take over and he can become the starter. And then you don't have to replace 2 wingers. You just replace 1, which is Coutinho, because then he's old, right? That's how it should function. When you get 2 players per position, one of them should be older than the other one. So when the older one gets too old, the younger one takes his place, and then you sign a younger one, and it's just like a conveyor belt of players. But when you sign 2 players who are the same age, they're both going to age together, and they're both going to have to be replacing 2 wingers instead of 1. Anyways, that's my point of view. But Andreas Schelderup, I hope I'm saying that right. Let me know. What do you guys think? Yes, no, maybe? Let me know down below in the comment section or in the chat section if you're watching this live. All right, let's do the comments or the chat section, and then we are going to talk about an English defender now who Barcelona are also tracking. Let's see. But where did we leave off? Where did we leave off? Oh, we have another donation. Let's fucking go. Thank you so much, Sanjuk, for your generosity, my friend. Thank you for supporting the channel. And Sanjuk says, so impressed with Xavi Espart. Defensively, he's much, much better than Kunde. Offensively, he'll grow with experience, and he has good football IQ. I really liked what I saw from Xavi Espart as well against, who do we play against? Sevilla. We're at that final stage of the season where we've watched so many matches, and now I'm just like, who did we play the other day? And this was like, what was it, yesterday? I can't even remember what team we played or what team we're set to play. But yes, I did like what I saw. It wasn't necessarily like a super exuberant match by Spot. It wasn't like, oh my God, this is next Messi, but in the fullback position. But he did things the right way. He did his job. He fulfilled his duties. And that's a lot. That's a lot for an 18-year-old kid who's getting his first start ever in first division football. Like, usually players, kids who get their start is usually, they're nervous, the pace is too fast for them, so they can't keep up, they make mistakes. Not Xavi Spar. Xavi Spar was completely fine. He did his job. You didn't even feel that there was a young kid there. You would think it was just whomever, any starter. And I like that a lot. And that says a lot, because if that's his bottom, right? Because right now, that's his bottom performance, right? This is probably the worst performance you're going to see from him, because it's the first time starting first division football. He's 18. This is probably the bottom, right? This is the worst he could do. And if this is the worst he could do, that means the ceiling is really high. And it means he's only going to keep getting better and better and better. And if he's already performing his duties and doing what he's supposed to do at his bottom, can you imagine what he's going to look like at his top, or not even at his top, middle way, right? So yeah, I like Xavi Spot is looking promising, but of course, time will tell, because we've seen this story before. We've seen promising players who later on plateau or take a nosedive. Hopefully that's not the case, but I do like what I've seen from Xavi Spot so far. And plus his name is Xavi, right? You can't go wrong with a player named Xavi. I mean, we all saw what Xavi gave us. Let's see. What else? Where do we leave off? Sean says, good night, Mo. Great video. A great video would be what happens to players who turn down Barca, and where are they now? Like that fool Bergvall who chose Tottenham over Barca. Oof. That's a good idea. I think a better idea. Well, not a better idea, different idea. That's because this is a great idea. I think also a different idea could be maybe a video of academy players who left chasing, minutes or money somewhere else, and where they at now, right? Like Dro, for example, like Elish Moriba, like Xabi Simmons, like Margiu, all these homegrown talents that went somewhere else because they were just, they wanted to fast track their careers. They didn't want to go through the steps and what's called be patient to get to the first team. I think that's another good idea that I could do. But I like that idea. My friend. Thank you for your suggestion. And Andrew says, wait, do you live in Spain, and can you vote if you don't live in Spain? No, I don't live in Spain. I voted in the 2021 election for Laporta because at the time, due to COVID, they allowed online voting. So this is how I was able to vote during the 2021 election. This election, it took that away. So it was only in person, and this is why I did not vote in this election. And Blaurana X says, stopping by to say happy to be part of your channel. I'm happy that you're part of my channel, my friend. I'm happy that everyone here is part of the channel. And Dorothy says, whatever happens, Fon looks like a great president for the next election. Laporta has to make his last term, so he has to do magic. I just want a season where he gives Flick any player he requests. Yeah. 2031 is going to be interesting for sure because, given Barca's history, it's clear that the incumbent always has an advantage, right? I mean, Laporta ran against Bartomeu and lost because we had won the Tribal. And even though Bartomeu he was a terrible president at the time, at the election, he was already doing terrible things with the club. And we knew he was doing terrible things at the club, but the Soci still voted for him because we won the treble. And B, have you ever heard Bartomeu speak? The guy's a dud. Like, he's a dumbass. And still was able to win re-election. So it's clear that the incumbents always have the advantage when it comes to the Barcelona elections. So this election, it wasn't that exciting or anything because we knew it was going to be Laporta. Like, we knew he's going to win. I don't think there's anyone who doubted that Laporta was going to win. So 2031, now we don't know who's going to win, right? Because Laporta's not going to run. He can't run by the statutes. So now it really is open season for whomever runs. So I think that election is going to be interesting because it's going to be interesting to see who the associates vote for. And I think it's going to be a close election, obviously, because, again, there's no incumbent. Everybody's new. And I'm also curious to see who's going to be running. We'll see if Fon's going to run again because he ran. I think he ran against Bartomeu in 2016. He definitely ran this last election, obviously, in 2021, and he ran in this one. So I'll be curious to see if he still has the stamina to run a third time. I'll be curious to see if Marc Siria runs again or Xavi Villajuana, and then who else joins the race. We'll see if Piqué maybe wants to. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Definitely a lot more interested in this one because, I mean, we knew the results before campaigning even began. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. What else? The Jeff says, now I hear of Pedro Neto, who is worst version of Rafinha. Yeah, Neto is on the list, especially since, Chelsea, they have 1 million players. So he could be looking to leave, given, lack of minutes, blah, 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 blah. You know the deal. And Sab says, should we consider buying him rather than going for Rashford? Sheldrup. Honestly, I would prefer that we buy anyone who is younger, whether it's Sheldrup, whether it's Fofana, whether it's Nusa, whether it's my dog. He's young. He can do it. He loves chasing the ball. Anyways, that's my opinion. Let's see. One more, and then we'll do the next one. Reaper X says, you guys vote for Laporta. Now deal with him now. Don't start complaining. Suffer with it. Well, hopefully we don't have to suffer with it, right? Hopefully the next 5 years is, he does a good job and we don't have to suffer. We don't have to complain. And, we can just celebrate the success of the club, right? At the end of the day, it's all about the club, right? It's like someone commented, he was like, oh, haha, Mo, Laporta won. Now you get to complain for 5 years. And it's like, I don't want to complain. If I complain, it's because Laporta did something I believe it's wrong. And I don't want him to do something that's wrong. I don't care about being right or wrong when it comes to bad things for the club. Like, if I say a player is doing bad, I don't want to be right. I want that player to prove me wrong. Like Joao Cancelo, I said, why are we signing this guy? He sucked for a whole season under Xavi. And look at him. He's doing amazing. Do you think I'm mad? Do you think I'm like, fuck, Cancelo's making me look stupid? Fuck no, I'm happy because Cancelo's doing great. Dani Olmo, very inconsistent. If tomorrow he starts being consistent every match, I'm not going to be mad saying, oh, God, Dani Olmo, he's making me... No, I'll be very happy because at the end of the day, I want all the players to do great, including Ferran, who I've made so much fun of him. I want Ferran to be a shark. I want Ferran to be scoring goals. And if he does, I'm not going to be mad because I made fun of him. And now look at him. He's proving me wrong. Look at Coutinho, man. I criticized Coutinho for 2 years because he was so shitty under Xavi. And now he's freaking Coutinho. I mean, I call him Coutinho. I'm not going to be mad about that. So people are like, oh, now you get to complain. It's like, I don't want to complain. It's the opposite. I want Laporta to prove me wrong. I want to come here and be like, look at what Laporta did. Fucking amazing. Popping champagne bottles. If I'm complaining, it's because he did something wrong, and I don't want him to do something wrong because at the end of the day, I want what's best for the club. I want the club to succeed. And that's what it's about. But people get so caught up in this tribal mentality where it's just like, oh, I'm down with Laporta and it doesn't matter what he does. If he does great, then I'll just, pump my chest and be like, look how great he is. And if he does bad, I'm either going to pretend it didn't happen, look the other way, or make up excuses and I'm just ride or die with. And it's like, no, bro, you should be ride or die with the club, not with the people who come and go within the club, not with the coaches, not with the presidents, not with the players. You should be ride or die with the club. Anyone else who comes to the club, whether president, coach, or player, you know, all we want is for them to do the best. And if they don't, get the fuck out. Someone else will come. Xavi Hernandez, terrible coach. Get the fuck out. We brought Flick. Oh, boom. That's what I was saying for 2 years. It's like, get Xavi out. It has nothing to do with him as a player. Amazing. Legend. One of the best ever. But look, we got him out. We brought Flick. Things got better. Isn't that what you want? Or you just want to be right? No, Xavi, and I'm going to die with Xavi, and I'm going to ride or die with Xavi, and fuck it if the team is losing. Fuck it if the team is not winning anything. Fuck it if the team is getting humiliated. No, no. It's about the club. It's the same thing with anything else. But unfortunately, people have very tribal minds where it's like, I'm either this side or that side. If I'm this side and you're that side, then fuck you. You're an idiot. You're stupid. And, it all gets lost in that mess of just like wanting to just be right. And you forget what you're actually advocating for, which at the end of the day, it's the club itself, not your ego. But anyways, let's do the last bit of news. And then we'll do more comments. I don't want this podcast to go too long. Last time it was over an hour and people were like, Mo, stop talking. Just kidding. Nobody said that. But I was thinking that. I was like, damn, these poor people have to listen to me yap for like over an hour. But let's do the last bit of news. And the last bit of news comes straight out of England. Out of London, innit? I apologize. That was a terrible accent. But reports from England stating that Barcelona have also added to their list of possible signings this summer Lewis Hall, the guy that you see on your screen. I remember a few weeks ago I said, I was doing the news and I said, Barcelona want to sign or Barcelona tracking this guy. And then I said his name and someone commented all offended, like, oh, why you saying this guy? Or I'm like, what? Apparently being offended these days, it's a full-time job. But anyway, so now I said it backwards. Now I said, Lewis Hall is this guy. Hopefully that doesn't offend anyone. But Lewis Hall is a 21-year-old left back who plays for Newcastle. In fact, he did an amazing job in England when we played against them. He was the reason why Lamine Yamal went very quiet that game. You know, it was, unfortunately, of course, thanks to Lewis Hall that Lamine Yamal wasn't able to complete. I don't think he completed a single dribble. But his dribbling was definitely constantly, being interrupted, and it was thanks to Lewis Hall. He joined Newcastle from Chelsea back in 2023, and ever since he has been shining with Newcastle. Now, Lewis Hall is an international with England's under 21. He has a contract until 2029 with a market value of 35 million euros. And there is a long list of teams currently tracking him, including Manchester City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. Now, Barcelona have reportedly added him to the list of possible signings in the summer, which, of course, and this is why I did this news last, as you know by now, left back is not really a priority, right? Right now, number one priority is center forward, not center back. And then, of course, also center forward and left wing. If we can reinforce those three positions and still have money left over and financial fair play left over, then we'll look to reinforce the fullback positions, someone to compete with Koundé and Balde. And, of course, this is where someone like Lewis Hall would enter into the equation. So, for now, Barcelona interested in him, impressed by him, tracking him. He's on the list for possible signings. Doesn't mean that Barcelona going to go out for him because, again, left back is not really the priority, even though Barcelona do believe that they need someone to compete with Balde. But right now, at least we have Balde in the left back. In the center forward, we have no one, right? I mean, we have Lewy, but Lewy will be gone in the summer unless Laporta follows through with his wish. Because during the campaign, he said he wants another season of Lewy and Ferran. I hope that was just a false, empty campaign promise because I love Lewy. For me, one of the favorite strikers of this generation. But I think we can all agree that his time is up, and that's nothing bad, right? I mean, we could say that, right? This is not dissing Lewy. This is not saying Lewy you suck or no. Lewy has so much to show for. I mean, again, the greatest Polish player and one of the greatest strikers of this generation, but age catches up with all of us. So I think Lewy's time is up, and we need a center forward. That's the number one priority. And then there's also the center back and left wing. And if we still have money left over, then we can talk about reinforcing fullbacks, with Lewis Hall being on the list of those possible reinforcements. So, of course, my question to you is, as always, let me know. Lewis Hall, do you guys see him in Barca? Don't see him in Barca? Maybe see him in Barca? Money aside, of course. Let's forget that money's a... Let's say we can't afford him and we can sign him tomorrow. Would you sign him tomorrow? Or would you pass on him? Let me know in the chat section or in the comment section if you're watching this after it ends. All right, let's do more comments. We have a few more minutes until the hour mark. The news is done in case you want to leave, but hopefully not. Hopefully you stay and share your thoughts with us. But let's do more comments. Mick Barca says, crazy guy screaming at the mic. How you doing? I'm doing great. I'm feeling amazing because this week I get to go to Barcelona. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to be back at the Camp Nou. You know, last time I was in Barcelona, I watched a match at Montjuic, which is a terrible stadium. The view is great because Montjuic is at the top of a mountain. The mountain is called Montjuic. Well, the stadium is not really called Montjuic. It's called the Estadi Luis Companys, but they call it Montjuic because it's at the top of the mountain called Montjuic. And Barcelona, you know, being a coastal city, it's flat. So you get on top of the mountain and you have the full view. You see the whole city. You see the Mediterranean. Beautiful view. But the stadium itself, I mean, it's not a football stadium. It's an Olympic stadium. So I'm very happy to be able to go back to the Camp Nou. Most importantly, I'm very excited to be able to take my camera, film, and of course, bring you guys a video of the state of the Camp Nou. Let's see what else. Reaper X says, give chance to David Odro and Alex Walton. Stop wasting time on stupid signing. Look at Xavi's spot. Flick will never use La Masia like Xavi used to do. Only you use when there is injury. I think I disagree with that. Well, not I think. I do disagree with that. I think Flick has debuted, and I might be making this up because I'm trying to remember the exact number. I read it somewhere. I think it was up to 23 players. So to say that Flick doesn't use La Masia players, it's incorrect. But we'll see. We'll see how David Odro develops, and we'll see how Alex Walton develops. I mean, Flick just started Xavi's spot. He didn't have to do that. He could have put in Eric Garcia as a right back. He could have put Casado as a right back. He could have put Cancelo as a right back with Gerard Martin as a left back. He had plenty of options. And he chose Xavi's spot. So he clearly does trust La Masia kids, right? It was Flick who gave Casado his start the entire first half of last season. And sure, it was due to injury because Frankie was injured, but he had other options. He could have used Gabi, could have used Olmo. He could have used, well, not Christensen because he got injured. He had other options, but he trusted Casado, someone he had just promoted from Barca Athletic. Right? So to say that he doesn't trust La Masia kids, I think that's incorrect. I mean, Marc Bernal, he was a definitive starter at the beginning of last season, but then unfortunately he got injured. But now again he's starting. So there's evidence to the contrary. But yeah, we'll see how Odro does, and we'll see how Alex Walton do. You know, they still have to develop. They still have to keep learning and growing. You know, making a jump to the first team it's a lot, man. People think it's just like, I think we're so spoiled and we've gotten used to like people like Lamine or Kouassi or Bernal who just make the jump like nothing. But those are the exceptions, right? Those are the exceptions. The majority, the great majority of players, takes a lot for them to get used to first division. It's a lot faster. The pace is a lot faster. It's a lot more intense. I mean, look at Xavi's spot. He was getting cramps at, 80th minute? It's not because he's not fit. It's because he's used to playing in Barca Athletic and Juvenil A, where the intensity is a lot lower. So boom, he makes the jump to first division and he's cramping up like crazy because his body's still not used to the increased intensity. And that was a match where the intensity was overall like not too high, right? Because it was Sevilla, Barcelona were dominating easily. So can you imagine him starting, against Atletico Madrid in the second leg of the Copa del Rey and playing full 90 minutes? There's no way, right? So that jump, man, is a very difficult thing to do. we take it for granted because we got used to, people like Messi and Xavi and Iniesta making a jump in just like nothing. But those guys are the exception, not the rule. It takes a long time. I mean, look how long it's taken Rooney Bardghji to adapt. He was already playing first division. Sure, it was in Sweden, which obviously it's a lot lower, but it takes people time, my friend. It takes people time. And in the meantime, you need solutions, right? You cannot just sit around, wait for a year or two until players are ready. Let's see. Okuza says, hey, Mo, I'm watching from Namibia. Let's go. And Jerry, who's watching from Liberia. Let's freaky go. We got Africa in the house. And JDY, who's watching from Jamaica, says, by the way, what about Exposito Feom Inter the CF? Exposito. Hold on. When is his contract? Expiring. Bio Exposito. Oof, he has a contract until 2030. Mamma mia. With a 35 million market value. By the way, he's one of the non-transferable players at Inter Milan, him and Lautaro. Bio Esposito and Lautaro. So, non-transferable. A contract until 2030 with a 35 million market valuation. Expect Inter Milan to ask for something ridiculous. Probably in the 9 figures. Something like 100 mil plus. That's most likely what's going to happen. Oh, wait. This moved on me. Why'd you move on me? There we go. Okay. David says, hey, Mo, did you see who has a $300 million loss? You guessed it. Chelsea. Wow. Shocker. Who would have known that, signing 100 players every window, whether it's summer or winter, would lead to losses? Jesus Christ. Who is running that club? Todd Bowley, bro. What are you doing, man? You're making us Americans look so bad. Bro, 300 million? That's insane. That's insane. Jesus. It's just irresponsible. I mean, that's like Bartomeu 2.0. My goodness. Fidel says, in my opinion, if we can sign Luka Vasco. Wait, someone told me how to say his name correctly. Fuck. Buskovic? I think that's what it was. I think it was Buskovic. And Andreas, Sheldrup, Lewis Hall, and Harry Kane. That will be a good summer. Ugh. Yeah, the question is where we get all that money. I mean, they're saying Luka Vuskovic would be something between 40 to 50 mil. We know Harry Kane has a 60 mil release clause that puts us at 110. Lewis Hall has a market value of 35, but expect them to want 50, so that's 160. And then Sheldrup has a 40 million euro market value, but it is Benfica. Benfica's going to want to gouge us. But let's do a conservative estimate of how much Benfica would want Sheldrup. Let's say 40 mil. You're at 200 mil. Bro, where are we going to get 200 mil? Not to mention, you also have to find space on your wage bill to register all those players. And Harry Kane is not going to come to Barca to earn peanuts. He's going to expect a big salary. So that would be a great summer, yes. But a realistic one? Peace. I don't know. I don't think so. Bad Boy says, what are your thoughts on Joao Cancelo so far? Joao Cancelo has surprised me a lot in a good way because I think his season under Xabi was abysmal. And yet, so far, a few matches that he's played, offensively speaking, he has been superb. Defensively, he's still lacking a lot. But, I mean, it's Cancelo. He's an offensive player. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. But you do see him trying more, defensively speaking, right? You do see him tracking back. You do see him pressing. So he is working on improving his defense. How much can that improve? I don't know at this late stage in his career. I mean, he was never a defensive player, so I don't see him becoming one overnight. But he is trying to improve it. And offensively, of course, you guys have seen what he's doing. So he's surprised me a lot in a good way, and I'm happy. because at the end of the day, I want all of Barcelona players surprising me. You know, the ones doing great, I want them to surprise me by doing even better. And the ones doing bad, I want them to surprise me by doing great. You know, Ferran, bro, come on, let's get it. Olmo, can we stay consistent, please? Cancelo, please keep doing what you're doing. And especially now in this last stretch of the season, like we're talking about, this is when trophies are won or lost. So we need all of our players firing on all cylinders. And Michael says, I think selling Balde would be wrong move. Instead, we should get someone to challenge him. And also, we shouldn't spend any money on the midfield. We should just focus on a striker position and a center back. 100% agree with you, my friend. I think selling Balde would also be a terrible mistake. I think he needs competition. And yeah, no, midfield. I think we go on midfield. We have like a million midfielders. Like, we chilling, bro. We chilling. No more midfielders. B4K Chema says, any update on the Tebas removal process? Also, I say we either pass on Rashford or propose a second loan, or we should go for Sheldrup from Benfica instead. No news on the Tebas thing is still ongoing. But then I think it was Miguel Galan who revealed that Laporta actually appeared on behalf of Tebas, defending him. And that, of course, is going to have a lot of weight because the whole case is based on Tebas violating the confidentiality of FC Barcelona, and that's why he should be removed. And there comes the president of FC Barcelona saying, no, leave him. He's a great guy. He fucks us right and left, but he's a great guy. Let's keep him. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that was the last update. Valeriano says, good evening, Mo. Will Laporta have to choose a new board members or continue with what he has? He could continue with what he has. I think he did add a couple of people to his team. I hate when my camera does that. Look. Yeah. It's like, if you do this, it does it. But sometimes it just does it on its own. Oh, by the way, check this out. Yeah, party mode. Let's fucking go. What else? Oh, heart. Come on. Work, please. Please. There we go. Heart. Stupid shit that entertains me. Wait, there's one more. Oh, hold on. Now it's out of focus. How do you do the balloons? Is it the peace sign? Oh, no, this is a confetti. Wait, but how do you do the balloons? I don't know how you do the balloons. There's balloons too. Anyways, no, he can continue with his own board. He could choose whoever he wants. But I think he added a couple more people. So probably the same board, but with just a couple of new faces. They were talking about maybe bringing, what was his name? Edward. The treasurer that left because he had problems with Ferran Olivier. He might come back, which means that Olivier most likely will leave. But we'll see. I'm sure he'll announce it in the summer. And we'll see. Probably there's going to be a lot of same faces, and he might add a few more. Let's do one last one, and then we'll end this. But Ahmad Ashraf says, Mo, Hector Fort might start playing from after the international break since he went to Elche for his final recovery stage, according to Mundo. Yeah, man, it's a shame what happened to Hector Fort because, the first third of the season, Elche was kind of like, they weren't playing him. They were waiting. He was just training. They were like helping him, develop some things, polish up some things. And then second third of the season, it's like, boom. He starts starting. He's taking off. He's doing great. And then, bam, injury. So now he has, a couple of months left. And hopefully in those 2 months, he can continue playing and growing and, and we'll see what he has to offer, right? Bojan Kirkic obviously is the one in charge of keeping track of loanees. We'll see. Hopefully he can prove himself because, yeah, we need competition, man. We need someone to compete with Koundé because my boy Koundé too busy eating croissants and just taking naps and saying, ooh la la. But anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. That is all for this podcast. That is all. I don't think I'm going to make any more videos because there was no more news. This was it for today. Short, a day short on news, but that's okay. I'm sure there will be more tomorrow. It is FC Barcelona after all. There's always news. But so no more videos today. Thank you guys for joining me. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Viscarsa.